Okay, what we've got here is the Montech Fighter 600 is what the model name is. I believe it was $60 with free shipping off of Newegg. I'm going to do a case review. So I've literally just unboxed it. I took the glass side panel off and that is it. So these are my first impressions. And then I'm going to build a PC in it. And I don't know if you can tell, but in the background, the motherboard and all that jazz is over there. That's what's going in it. But yeah, so we're going to give some first impressions. Looks really good. It's a good looking case. But one thing I've got to say is, I don't know if you can tell, the fans are not center with the holes that are cut out for the fans. I guess they're mounted to the front panel. Let's see. Yes, they're mounted to the front panel, which I guess is what you want, so that they line up with the holes that are cut into the front panel. But I guess that's just, can't imagine it would affect performance too much, but you are technically cutting off airflow. But I imagine these are more for aesthetics anyways. Let's take off the other side panel. These are loose. Well, top one was anyways, so consider that. It's got a... One thing I do like about cases is they give you the option to mount your fan up in the case. And I know a lot of people would rather mount it towards the floor, but since I make PCs for the common man who doesn't know how to build a PC, generally they just sit it on carpet and it does nothing but suck up dust and other filth and get clogged up. So whenever I build a PC to sell, I will I mount the fan up. There's a little plastic cover that covers the... it's cheap, but I think it's effective, because yeah, there are metal ones that slide and all that jazz, but I can't tell you how many cases I've bought secondhand that just didn't have them because they have screws. Whereas this one, you just kind of pop it on there, you know. It's better to have one than not have one. You can't really nitpick at shit that you'd get in like an NZXT or a Corsair, because this is a $60 case shipped. It's got a drive bay. Oh, okay. That is not screwed in, but it has screw holes, so it's an option. It's pretty neat. It's just a plastic base that it mounts to. There's an SSD tray right here. It's under tension. I guess if you need a quick release SSD mount, there it is. Yeah, the wires are all black, which is nice. Once again, I'm not gonna nitpick at shit, because that's what a lot of these like Steve from Gamers Nexus. He's a real son of a bitch when it comes to, like, not that I'm calling out Steve from Gamers Nexus because he knows a lot more than I ever will. But like when he's doing like case reviews, because like he did a case review on one from Newegg that was like $30, and he's like nitpicking at stuff. It's like, dude, this is for somebody who's putting together an Athlon on an A320 motherboard and maybe a RX5. What do you call it? 560. It's like they obviously know they're not going to get high end, you know. And I'm glad that they're on the market space. You know what I mean? Like, it's better to have the option to have a shitty $30 case than not at all. So, I'm not going to nitpick at stuff. Like, this is obviously a mess. You know, what does that matter? It matters nothing. It comes with a rubber band. Nice little black rubber band. That's all bundled up, so that's nice. Comes with cable ties. Not cable ties, but twist ties. I call what some people might call cable ties zip ties. So we've got 3 twist ties, which is nice, because some people might not have Aaron Newsom's big bag of zip ties like I do. So how many are in here? I mean, there were 1,000 zip ties in here, but not anymore. So, that's nice. It's got USB 3.0. Oh, this is a nice feature. You'll find this in a lot of, you won't find this in a lot of cheap cases, but where you do find it is going to be in a cheaper case. But because I guess they know that an H61 motherboard or something similar that might be going in here, the USB 3 connector has a USB 2.0 connector. So in case that you don't have a motherboard with the USB front out, like an H67, they have USB 3 but not a USB 3 front out. This is a nice option. I actually have just an absolute fuckload of them. I think there's 11 or 12 right here, because cases don't have this. Not all cases have this. So for me, who builds, you know, used PCs, so that a kid can get an 8-threaded computer with a decent graphics card for $400 from me, you might not always get USB 3 front out. I really do try my hardest to always have USB 3. So if I've got like an H61 motherboard, I'll generally buy like a cheap USB 3.0 PCIe card, because it's just not having USB 3.0 in 2020 is an absolute pain in the arse. So the 3 front fans are all Molex or 3-pin. I hope they change color, but if not, you know, not the end of the world. The back fan is not Molex though, so if that's something that you care about or need, it's not here. These are nice because you can just plug one of these into the motherboard, so you still get your fan control, and then you plug the rest into the Molex, and they all get power, which is a nice bonus. But these will probably just be stuffed right in here and plugged in with a Molex connector. Let's put this all back together, and I'll get the parts that are going in here, so you guys can get an idea of what it will, how it will build, what it'll look like, all that jazz. So going into this PC, sorry for being cut off, I have it zoomed in a little bit. We'll widen out that shot. There we go. There we go. One of my favorite graphics card models, even in 2020, GTX 980 Ti. Set that down. Then we have an ASRock Z77 motherboard. Now this one does have the USB 3 front out, so it's got a CryoRig H7. I'm kind of disappointed with this cooler. I thought it would be better than a Hyper 212 black, because that's one that I use quite often. But it's not as good. Just a little bit worse. But it looks cooler, and it's a much larger cooler, even though it only has 3 heat pipes. I thought it would be better, but I guess it's not. But it looks good. 16 gigs of SK Hynix 1866 megahertz. I've got this specific kit to 2133 on this motherboard, and then my favorite CPU of all time, the 2600K. This one's at 4.8 gigahertz. Intel has never come out with a processor as good as the 2600K for its time. And if you watch videos, this thing games a 2600K at 4.6 gigahertz games, as well as a Ryzen 5 3600. So, for all those haters out there that are like, oh, this is too old, it's not good. 2600K, still a big dick processor. It can hold its own, and it paired up with the 980 Ti just fine. Then we got this EVGA 450 watt PSU. I have the utmost confidence that this 450 watt will power this system no problem, because it has 450 watts on the 12 volt. So most of your 450 watt, EVGA has been really good about their power supplies. EVGA makes my favorite power supplies. When they say 450 watts, they mean 450 watts on the 12 volt. Like Montech is a 430 watt power supply, and I think it's only got 380 on the 12 volt. So this is like a Thermaltake 500 watt power supply is really a 450 watt, because that's how many it has on the 12 volt row. So I have the utmost confidence that this will power it, and I doubt EVGA would have put a dual 8-pin PCIe power connector on here if they didn't have the confidence that it would power something like that. I would never, like, what do you call it, use adapters to try and get a graphics card that really isn't good enough for a power supply. So if they've got dual 8 pins on it, I'm happy with that. I'm putting in a Samsung 128 gigabyte SSD and a 1 terabyte hard drive. I don't know where they are. I don't feel like grabbing them yet. But I will get back to y'all and give y'all a look when it's finished. Okay, we got everything put together. I'm going to throw up some B-roll shots over me talking. I had my phone out, I'm sorry. But yeah, it looks really good. None of the colors, you know, move, but the way that they're diffused, I think it looks really good. Like, to me, as well as these are diffused, they don't really need to, like, circulate. I was able to move the rear fan down, so it actually lines up pretty well with the CPU cooler, because this is more of a knock on ASRock more than Montech, the case manufacturer. But if you can tell, the CPU is pushed really far to the back, so you can't really get too big of an air cooler on there, and even if you do get like a big air cooler, you can't mount a secondary fan unless you take off the rear case fan, which obviously isn't ideal. But hopefully, you know, it's not completely centered, but hopefully that'll be able to extract a lot of the heat off the CPU cooler. Lots of tie points, good like cable holes, like the top CPU one right here. Down here there was, would have been nice to have one right here where the HD audio goes. I don't know if you can tell. But the way I was able to mount the power supply, I was able to do, like I said, fan up into the case. And what's really nice is EVGA has this, like, I wouldn't say embossed, but it's like pressed into the side. So this little cutout just shows the EVGA, which looks really cool. Yeah, I'm very impressed with it. I think it's a very nice case for the money. Looks great. Glass tempered side panel, you know. I like it. For 60 bucks, if you're looking for something that has the RGB, you know, aesthetics, it's got the bling, and it seems to have decent airflow. You know, it's all mesh front, so that's really nice. That's not something that a lot of case manufacturers are seeming to get, is that, you know, a lot of people want mesh fronts because airflow is important. But it does have mesh front, and like I said earlier, they're not really lined up with the mounting holes for the inside of the chassis. I imagine they just used the same tooling to make different cases, and that those are meant to mount, you know, different fans. It looks like it has support for a 360mm rad, but I certainly wouldn't buy this case if you're wanting to use a 360mm rad or have a CPU that needs to be cooled by a 360mm rad. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments, or you just want to call me a dickhead or a stupid head, let me know. But I think the case looks good. I'm sure airflow will not be a problem. I'm probably not going to throw up any airflow tests, but okay, fans were off. I was going to say it's getting kind of toasty. But yeah, it's a great case. This PC I'm probably going to sell for about $900 to $800 because of the 980 Ti and the 2600K. But yeah, I wouldn't have a problem putting anything less than $1,000 build in this case. I think it's nice. I think it's really nice. So, peace out.